Welcome into ProAquatics.com. I'm Skyler King. As always, you can email me, Skyler@ProAquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SkylerPrep. Into October now, arguably biggest invite of the year coming up. We had a couple good ones this past weekend. We're going to talk about some times from a few of them. We'll start with Naperville North. This was really the Oswego show, and their two stars, Katie Gressick and Chloe Diner, have really just been outstanding. Every time I see a result on them, unfortunately, the one time I saw them, they weren't full strength, and so it'll be interesting to see at the end of the season what they finally do with their lineup, because they've been really mixing things up. Lauren Sidorsky kind of covers the distance-free side of things, and with this meet, Chloe Diner swam the 50. I think ultimately those two girls will both swim the IM, but if they're trying to make a dark horse trophy run here, Sidorsky can probably score in the 500 free, and they can take Gressick out. Gressick won a very nice time in the butterfly, and Diner and Gressick are the type of girls that are probably going to be top 8 in whatever you put them in, more or less. Anything you would recently put them in, they're going to be top 8 in. Gressick 205.4 in the IM, utterly dominant. Diner 24.06 in the 50. I think it's unlikely she swims the 50, but 24.0 is still one of the better times I've seen this year. Not too many girls have broken 24. Gressick 56.7 in the fly. And when you have that type of versatility, it really keeps your options open in a meet. If you hear things about events that might be weaker and or stronger than what you originally expected, you can audible. Sidorsky 5:14.8 in the 500, and says she added 2.6, so she's been at 12 low. I mean, she should be a contender for top 8 in the 500 if she can drop from that time, quite frankly. Because again, the 500 free is the weakest event in the meet by far, and it would take a lot of move-ins for, based on last year's results, like for 5:02, I think 5:02 could be top 8. That's not a crazy amount of time to drop in the 500, 10 seconds. Nequa does edge out Oswego in the 200 relay, and that's kind of part of the problem they have, right? Is Sidorsky's their third best swimmer. If she's going to be in the 500, that relay is going to take a bit of a hit. But obviously, Diner is probably going to be coming out of the breaststroke, so you kind of got to pick your poison there. And that's really the handicap that Oswego has, is they can't have a third relay unless they pull their two studs out of an individual race, which doesn't make any sense. And they just don't have sprint freestylers that aren't those two studs. And they're not the only one. St. Charles North's in a similar spot behind their two stars. Chloe Diner 103.2 in the breaststroke. I think that's the fastest time in the state this year. I believe Kaylee Duran from Taft also went a 3, but I don't think it was better than 3.2. And so again, the breaststroke, I've said multiple times this year, looks like it could be the toughest event. Tasha Mantell from Naperville North 106.7 in this meet. Imogen Duffy 108.0. She's been 7 this year. Ruhi Chitan 108.3. We know she's going to be in the mix. The breaststroke's just tremendously deep. And then in the 400 relay in this meet, 3:39 for Nequa wins it. Again, Nequa's a team that I don't know if they can reasonably be top 10, but they can definitely nickel and dime a bunch of points in this meet. And I mean, they could definitely knock on the door to top 10 if some teams screw up ahead of them. But I can't really see a path for Nequa to have a top 8 relay. And so that's definitely going to limit their chances to push into that top 10. I was at the St. Charles North meet, and this was a pretty strong collection of teams, and not as strong as what we're going to see this next weekend, but maybe the best invitational that we've had since the Kendall Pickering meet, when you combine the fact that it was a legitimate invitational with sectional state type of program, and then the teams. Nutrier 146.5. Nutrier's medley's been lights out all year, and Azera Bolton, 25-4, was really the difference maker for them in the fly. But they really have no weak links in their relays as they've been swimming all year. And for New Trier, it's really going to come down to, can they score enough individual points to get a trophy with the losses of their two best kids? Because obviously it gives you less wiggle room on the relays, and so you might be more tempted to put your best remaining kids on 3 relays, and that's going to take them out of an individual race. And so it's a balancing act. The Coach Matt guy really, that's going to be the decision at the end of the year. If he thinks all 3 of his relays are top 8 without pulling his top kids out of an individual race, then New Trier is going to have an excellent chance to still get a trophy. Hinsdale Central 48-2, St. Charles North 48-4, LT 49-2. This is another meet where we saw LT's just incredible depth. Amelia Murphy, West Chicago, 56-0, wins the 200. And that was maybe the weakest race in this meet. Elise Newlands 209.2 in the IM, Burlington Boca's 210 flat, Maddie Ord 210.1. And you know, the IM again, this should be a pretty tough top 8. To be honest, obviously Bocas has been there before. Izzy Bew didn't even swim the IM at this meet. And you would anticipate as the number 1 returner that she's absolutely going to. I haven't seen her swim the IM this year. So I'm hoping she swims at New Trier this next weekend. Tess Stavropoulos 23.69, Claire Conklin 23.71. These two are obviously studs and scored as freshmen last year. Even though I don't think Conklin scored in the 50 actually. And she's been swimming a lot of backstroke. I'm curious to see if she potentially goes 100 free backstroke. I don't think she would go 50 free over the 100, or if she just slides back going to 50-100. Camille Zinnis 23.95 for Hinsdale Central. I mean, like I just mentioned before, I haven't seen a ton of girls go 23 this year, and these were all season bests for these 3 girls. None of them had been under 24 yet, and so that's an excellent sign for these 3. And again, Zinnis, being this is her first year at Hinsdale Central, we really don't know what she's going to swim, and so it could be 50 and 3 relays. It could be 50 breaststroke and short relays. That's going to be one of the more fun things. But in this 50 was super deep. 24-0 Maeve O'Donnell, 24-2 Lilia Barber, 24-4 Peyton Dorman, 24-5 Audrey Cavallari, 24-6 Sarah Bolton. So 8 girls at 24 mid or better. In the fly, Izzy Bew 56-1, and she's just so great on the back half. Her 200s of stroke are so impressive that she can really control a race like this way better than all of the competition. Because at the 50, it was a decent race, and she just buried everybody on the back half. Bolton 57-6, Collins 58-0, Lindsay Forbaugh 58-0 as well. And so we talked about some of the New Trier depth in the IM earlier. There's 2 58-0 flyers for LT. And you know, we've covered them many a times this year with how much depth they have. Stavropoulos 52-1 in the 100. Jaya Virapaneni, Lincoln Ways 53-1 was a heck of a swim. Peyton Dorman 53-4-1. Marin Shimkus 53-4-5. Karina Miller 53-4-6. The Hinsdale Central freshman. And we haven't talked about her a bunch, but and I've only really, I think this might have been the first time I saw her swim the backstroke, and that's really her best race. It seems like she's going to go potentially 100 free backstroke outside of relays, but it'll be interesting to see if potentially she goes 100 free 3 relays at the end of the year. Ella Jean Kelly 53-5. Libby Lanigan 54-0, Amelia Murphy 54-1, Sylvia De La Duca 54-19. She's a freshman from New Trier. So, and then Megan Marquardt 54-6. 10 girls at 54 mid or better in the 100 free. So you can see that there's kind of consistent depth in these sprint free races, but we just don't have that elite top end very often. As you saw, we had 3 girls go 23, but that was all the first time all year that they'd gone 23. And so there's room for people to make a move and really establish themselves the last couple of weeks of the season here. Bocas easily wins the 500, 509.0. Obviously, expect her to be in the mix for a state title there still. Forbaugh, 514.1. Kylie Thompson, 514.8. Both sophomores from LT. That's the other thing about LT. When you look at their roster, majority of these girls are going to be back next year. And so, I mean, depending on how they finish this year out and perform at state, LT is definitely a team that you could project as being a potential trophy contender coming into next season. The free relays, LT, typically strong, 37.57, tied a meet record in the 200 free relay. And the crazy thing about their relays is there's just no weaknesses. 24.4, 24.3, 24.9, 23.8 in the 200 relay. New Trier 38.2, Hinsdale Central 38.7. And that's the thing for LT is they may not have a star, but they also don't need a star to make up for a weak leg because they don't have one. 100 back, Maeve O'Donnell 57.7, Claire Conklin 57.78, Karina Miller 57.85, Vera Paneni 57.99. This is probably the strongest backstroke group that I'd seen all year. Maren Shimkus 58.26. Jenna Williams from St. Charles North, 58.65. 6 58s or better. And again, with the extra spots, you got to think that all those girls could potentially score the backstroke. In the breast, Ella Jean Kelly 106.1, Maddie Orr 106.3, Izzy Bue 106.8, Elise Newlands 107.2, Lily Moore 108.0. Something we've seen multiple times this year. 3 new Trier breaststrokers in contention here in the top 5. Lauren Jablonski from LT 108.75. Again, New Trier and LT probably the 2 deepest teams in the state, and they could certainly score 2 in several events. To me, the most impressive race of the day was the 400 relay. LT 332.4, another meet record. Hinsdale Central 33.77, New Trier 33.91, St. Charles North 36.01. Those are 3 legit in-season times. 3 relays under 34. And hopefully we get to see a repeat of this next weekend. And we're going to add Rosary and Stevenson to the mix. Trev relays this weekend. As I said last week, we'll be doing mid-season predictions at this time next week, coming out of Trev relays. And a lot's going to change from when I did these predictions before the season, because obviously we have people that aren't out for the team, but we also have freshmen that have emerged in power places like Stevenson and Hinsdale Central, amongst others. And then also in places where they're just kind of a rogue star, but are still going to pick up some top 16 spots and steal them away from some teams. So it should be very interesting to see how that plays out. I really hope that everybody is at full strength this weekend. If she's there, this will be the first time I get to see Becky Rentz in action. And that's honestly my biggest question right now is, what does Rosary's lineup look like in a big-time invitational with Becky Rentz there? Because I thought we were going to see it at the Rosary Invitational. She was not there. That was the first time I'd seen Naraki this year. Does Rosary go for the 2 high-octane relays loaded up, or do they move Rentz around, put her in the 200 relay, and let the 400 relay ride without her? I think that's the move at state. However, if it's hard to take a potential state championship away from kids if they think they're the favorite in a relay that they would be taking her out of, and then not the favorite. Because I think there's also an argument to take her out of the medley and put her on the free relays, just like there's an argument to take her out of say the 400 relay and put her on the 200 relay. I think the 200 relay is the relay that's going to need her the most, and so it'll be fun to see what the lineup looks like. Obviously, neutral relays isn't a perfect format for this because of the stipulations for how you have to handle seniors. For those that don't know, the way the relays are set up is you have a JV and a varsity in all 3 relays, and seniors are not eligible to swim on the JV. So you either have to put your young kids potentially in the varsity with a rogue senior, or you're gonna have that senior be with basically not the A team if everyone else is younger than senior and you want to swim in the JV. And so that lineup quirk always kind of screws things up in one way or another. And otherwise, the relay concept is you have 2 in each race, you combine their times, and that's how the meet is scored. Even though all I really care about is who individually is performing the best. So that's what we'll be this weekend, and then we'll be doing some ciphering and figuring out what the revised prediction is going to look like. And then we're going to be 2 weeks away from conference meets on Saturday. In 2 weeks, we have the Hinsdale LT conference meet is coming up, the West Suburban, the Naperville DVC meet, I always went Duquesne, where the St. Charles's are. It used to be UEC, and I always blank on what it's called now. All those conference meets are 2 weeks from this upcoming Saturday, and then they get the week off, and Stevenson and New Trier and such will go that weekend, and then it's sectionals in state. So we don't have a ton of weeks left, and so every weekend's going to be big as we try to determine who's going to be your state champion and trophy teams as this season passes its halfway point. As always, you can email me, skylandprepaquatics.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SkylandPrep. We'll be back next week with mid-season predictions here at prepaquatics.com.